Happy Friday. We'll just wait a couple minutes for people to get on. This is Reed. You might have seen him before on some other art lessons. Hey, Reed.
Hi.
I gotta remember it's usually people we know. Hey. If you're on here and we know you, say hi. I can't tell who that is. Oh, hi, Joan. So we're doing a lesson today about radius drawing. So we're gonna talk about what a radius is in drawing, and recognizing that, like in nature and around us, all the different places, and it helps. Hey, Lindsay. Hey, Naren. So I'm gonna talk about a radius first and how you can spot it, and hopefully that'll be one more skill when you're drawing, that you can use this to be able to draw things better, like in the moment you want to draw. Well, I'm not going to give it away yet because I wanted to ask Reed and see if you guys knew things around you that have a radius in them. So we can be talking about the math term radius, or kind of the same thing, but a radius you see in nature. So hi, if you're just joining, I just started, and Reed's here with me today. Reed's in 7th grade. He's almost done with school. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hey, Kyla. Yeah, so I'm still getting used to this. I'm trying to be like really comfortable and laid back, and never know who is going to watch this later, but I'm going to pretend that it's just you four. That will help me be more comfortable. So I hope you guys are having a good day. It's gorgeous Friday today. I have not practiced this lesson yet, so I'm going to do my best. I have this sheet right here that is like, doesn't look very nice. I'm going to flip it over and do the drawing while you guys are doing it. But I'm going to draw some practice things on here. So we're going to learn about radius drawing, and then how you can apply it whenever you're doing any drawings, and hopefully be able to see them in the world around you. So can anybody watching tell me what a radius is in drawing, or how you would spot one? What things around you, Naren, have a radius? I'm going to see if Naren answers. And then I'll ask Reed. No. Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's going to the bathroom or something, and I'm just going to tell you. So I looked up the definition of a radius, and it is a straight line from the center to the outside. So if you think about like a sun, I'm going to draw this on the back here. If you can see that, I'm going to use a Sharpie. Just the sun. So any straight line going out from the center point can be the radius. To the outside part of the circle. So we're going to learn about things you can draw today and see with the radius. So the Latin word, it comes from the Latin word actually that means staff or spoke or ray, or the spoke of a chariot wheel, which I thought was really cool. So you guys think this looks like a wheel or a sun rays? I think you can see that a little better. I moved the video closer this time. So yeah. It's a math term also, but for art, we see it in things like in the world, like the sun, or when you want to go to draw the sun. And even if you leave out these lines, you can sometimes draw those like we're going to do today, just to give you a reference. And then it helps you draw more of a kind of more of a perfect circle. And then you can erase the lines that are going through it. So that's what we're going to do when we draw a sunflower today, and an eye. We're going to be drawing an eyeball, because that feels like a thing that you want to draw a lot of eyes and to get them right. I'm going to give you some help in doing that, so you can use it whenever you draw people or faces. It can be helpful. And also a sunflower. So we're going to get going. I don't have an artist specifically that I wanted to show you this time. Usually I'll have like a reference of like a famous artist that does this. Pretty much every artist uses a radius in their drawing at some point. So this is just like an element, principle, common thing and how to see. So it would be really fun if you learned to see things around you with this radius, with these rays coming out when you look at them. If you can think of anything, it'd be fun if you typed it in the comments. Besides a bicycle wheel or the sun, what are some things you can think of that have a radius that you would see? Read.
Circles.
Circles. Thanks a lot. How about, like I just said, my eye. Can you guys see my eye? Look in your mom or your brother or sister's eye and see how the pupil in the middle. And then if you look really close, besides the outside of your eyeball, the center part, which I should know the technical term of. This would be so embarrassing to my dad, who's a doctor, that I don't know the technical term of that. So anyway, the center point of your eye, and then the lines that look like they're going out, those would be like those radial lines in your eyeball, on your eye. So your cornea, I believe. Is that right? Oh boy, this is embarrassing. So anything beside that, do you guys have suggestions of places you see radius in nature and outside? You can't think of anything else, right?
A flower.
A flower.
No, it's...
Yeah, a flower, because that's what we're doing today. So we're going to be doing a sunflower, which is one of the easiest ones to show the radial lines in them. Oh yeah, thanks Amy. Hi Amy. So why don't you get your paper ready? I just put pencil, eraser, and whatever supplies you wanted. So I'm going to use Sharpie just to show you that far away so you can see it. But if you have a pencil, use a pencil because that will be better and you can erase the lines later. You don't want to draw dark to start with. So if there are kids watching or adults, whatever, start with a pencil, but I'm going to be using the Sharpie. Reed's going to use a pencil and eraser too. So get your paper and pencil ready. And I'm going to flip this over. And I hope you guys can see this, and you can always fast forward it or look at it later. I'm going to post this on YouTube. So, oh, don't do it yet, please. So the first thing you're going to do, we're going to do the sunflower first. So what you want to do with the pencil is just do a cross like this. You want to find about 2/3 of the way up your paper or in the very center. So the flower we're doing is going to be the central focus. Radius, the central focus of your picture, and then you can end up coloring the background later after we're done. So I'm just going to draw this pretty big. I can't really see. You can use a ruler if you want to get it perfectly straight. I'm not going to because I don't think most people are going to be doing that, so I'm going to do it like you guys would. And that's just freehand. You just want to have those cross lines. Those are going to be erased later, so it doesn't really matter. We're going to do the first circle in the middle. You want to have this in the center of your page pretty much. And I'm going to do a little circle here. That just, and it doesn't matter if you do a few lines because you can erase them later. That's going to be the center of your sunflower. And I should have had a reference point to this. I'll try to put a post afterwards on the YouTube with a reference picture of it later. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do probably 2 or 3 more circles around that one. So they're moving out from the radius from this. There's one more. And one more farther out. And I might end up erasing that one and doing this one darker at the end. It depends how big you want your sunflower center. Some people like having them huge in the center and then these smaller flowers. We're going to do our flowers big first and then go back, and then you can make that the size you want. So the next thing you want to do, we're going to make our petals, but before we do that, we want a few more lines going out, a few more radial lines going out from the center. So these are also going to be erased later, but you want to make them pretty even. So what I'm going to do is start at the center in between these two that you already have. So you're going to make these into 8s. Instead of 4 parts, quarters, we're going to have 8s now. And you want to make straight lines out from the center. Pretty much a 45-degree angle. if you can, as best you can. And then if you want a lot of them, you can do it again in between. And add more even lines going all the way out. And you can do those all the way to the edge of your page. You can even have them going off your page. So go ahead and add those just for practice. Can you do that, Reed? And if you have questions anytime, let me know. So you always want to start at the center and do the line going out. So now we're going to pick, we're going to start with one of them, and it doesn't matter if these lines to make the petals look like they go over the other lines, because we'll fix that later. So what I'm going to do is start right here at the center, and you want to make a light line with your pencil, but just dark enough that you'll be able to see it later. And I'm going to do this, it's going to look kind of like a bendy rainbow, like a not very high arched rainbow line that goes out. And I make a point out here, and I didn't make this line long enough. That was my bad. So you really do want to make the lines go off the page. It just helps later. If yours don't go off yet, fix those, because it will help you. Can you do that one for me? So if you can see this line right here, I just made this arch right here. I'm going to go over that again so you can see it. Okay? And then I'm going to do the other side as well. I'm going to start at the top again and bend that one down and meet the point of the other line. And you want them as even as they can be, but it's not, they don't have to be perfect. And then you want to do that by going to the next petal that you want to do. You're making your sunflower petals. You want to do the opposite one. So instead of this one comes up here. I'm going to start and do it on this line right here. So I'm going to start at the center. I'm going to bend that line. And mine's even going off the page at the top, and that is just fine. So you might not see the point of all these sunflowers. If you want to make it fit on your page, then you'll have to do your center smaller and maybe your petals smaller. But I think just for the point of having to be even, it's easier to just be okay with them going off the page. So then I'm going to come back and do my line on my other side, starting in the center point. And this can get kind of tricky looking. If you're confused, ask your mom for help. But if you need to go back and make those curved lines darker or with a different color, maybe with a colored pencil or something. But you still want to make them erasable in case you're having a tough time. So then we're going to go back. I've done these straight down lines, my cross lines. I did one straight up and straight down. Now I'm going to do the side ones, and then I'll have 4 petals. Just the same way. Starting at the center and curving it. And see, mine goes off the page before it ended up making the point. Go back to the center and do the same thing. I arch it and it goes off the page. And now I'm going to come back here and do the opposite side. The same thing. Arch the line and it goes off the page. So you want the petal half the same thickness about as the bottom. And once you get the hang of this, you can do it next time without making them exactly the same if you want, but this is just to learn. So now we have 4 petals, and now I'm going to go in between them. So if you can see these two, I'm going to start on this line here. And when I do this curved line, I'm even arching over the other petal. I'm overlapping that line, and that's okay. We'll go back and erase some other ones when we're done. But if you've noticed those lines that we made at first in the center of the petals, if you've ever seen a sunflower, how it's darker in the middle, and you see little faint lines, that's what's going on too here, kind of by accident. That ends up being the middle darker part of your flower petal. So now that I've done that one, and not afraid to overlap, I'm going to come over here and do the line right in between these two petals. And the same thing. And that one's so big, I went almost to the tip there. I'm going to make that one darker so I can see it. And when you're ready, you can go up and do the next petal in between these two and in between these two. I'm going to stand up and maybe go off screen just to be able to draw those. How's it going, Reed?
Good.
As long as you're keeping your line that you're going around in basically the center, you can't go wrong. And you can either have your flower petals come to a point and make them fit all on the page, and they'll be kind of more short, stumpy flowers, or you can have them go off the page. The lines can go off, like mine are doing. So I hope that's making sense. Everybody there, anybody have questions? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to show you Reed's really quick. This is Reed's on paper. So he's had his go inside the paper. So he's doing pencil, I'm doing the Sharpie. I don't know if that helps you, but he's having them smaller and stay in the line. So that's what that looks like. Thanks, Reed. And now if we're going to move on and add even more petals in between these, so it's going to get pretty full. So I'm going to start at the center, and I'm going to once again, on the lines that are remaining in between, I'm going to do petals on those too. And just a reminder to help you stay even, we can get used to it and want to start at the bottom maybe, and it works the best to keep it even if you always start in the center line and go out. So these ones are really overlapping. If you can see all those lines overlapping, it can get a little confusing. So like I said earlier, you can always be using a different color if that helps you, or you can be drawing darker. Once you get outside of all these overlapping lines, you can push harder with your pencil so you can see them, if that makes sense. I'm doing them darker down here, and when they're all confusing, overlapping, I might draw them lighter. It depends on what helps you. Okay, so once you guys have all, I'm going to wait just a second if you want to keep working on your petals. Maybe some of you are ahead, you can get your other colored pieces ready or take a break and go use the bathroom, get a drink, turn some music on, or you can get your material that you're going to use. So we have oil pastels. I have, this is a basic brand that's pretty inexpensive. These are Pentel oil pastels. They're little ones for little little tiny hands, but I prefer the Portfolio series, the oil pastels that look like this. And they have gold wrappers, and the box looks like this. And that one's a little more costly, I think. Not too much on Amazon, but those are definitely worth it, and they're softer, and you get really vibrant colors that way. So that's what I'm going to be using today. And so now we have the center of the flower there, and I'm going to move on, and you can rewind or fast forward if you need to on the replay. But I've finished all my petals now, so I'm going to go back and do the center, starting with the petals. I'm first going to go over the petals that are the farthest away, which are going to be the lighter colors. So when you're looking at something, this is another thing with value that we've gone over before in other art lessons, but if you're new to this, the closer something is to you in general, it's brighter and darker. It's richer and thicker color. So if you look outside right now, wherever you're at, usually the farther away something is, the lighter it gets. If you look at hills and mountains, if you see layers of mountains, if that's where you live, or even city buildings, the ones farther away can look hazy and lighter in colored, and the ones right up next to you, even if there's a white house, is going to be brighter. And so we're going to do the flower petals, we're going to do the ones farthest away, the ones that look like they're underneath another petal. We're going to do those lines in a lighter yellow. If you want to grab a lighter yellow or orange, and you can use any colors that you want to make this flower. I am all for going outside the box. If you want to make a purple flower, awesome. You can pretend this is like a dahlia instead, or some other kind of flower. It does look more like a sunflower with the center we're going to fix, because dahlias don't have a center like that. But if you want to do your sunflower or different colors, that's just fine, as long as you have a lighter and a darker and maybe even 3 different values of color. So I'm going to use bright yellow for my flower petals farthest away. And then this one, I'm going to use this orangish yellow. And then for the very front ones, I'm actually going to use a dark orange. And that's just to tell which layer the petals are and have it look 3-dimensional, look layered. So I'm going to go over my farthest. This is a little confusing, so you might have to ask your parents if this doesn't make sense. But what you want to do is the first petals, we're going to work backwards. That we made the first ones, the lines that go, the cross ones, those are going to be some of the closest ones, the darkest ones that we're going to do last. So pretty much the ones that you made at the end of drawing them are what we're going to color first. We're going to go over with the outline with the lightest color. So I'm going to do these ones behind here. And you really don't even have to start drawing the line until you get to this line right here. I'm going to go over this one time with my black pen. And I'm going to make it even bumpy and round. If you want to do this with brown, you can lightly, but I'd rather wait till the end. I'm just going to do it so you can see what I'm talking about. That's going to be the center part of our sunflower. Making this little scallop rounded center part so you can see it. You guys see that a little bit better? So I'm going to do my light yellow, and I don't even need to do it inside the circle now. We're just doing it outside because that's where the petals are. You guys see that? Oh, that's really hard to see. So what I'm going to do is actually color that one in light yellow. Hopefully you can see that. So what you can do, if this is too hard for you to figure out where you're supposed to go to, you can just color the whole petal in right now and figure out later where it crosses. But if you can figure it out and these petal lines are going over it, this one's going underneath it. So you actually would only color in like this part. That's all that would be showing through. Can you guys see that? So I'm going to do that with my other petals that are the in-between ones that I drew last. I'm going to do that all around. It's that one. I'm going to have to stand up. Does that make sense, Reed?
Mm-hmm.
This is really using up my oil pastels. A lot. I might smear them in. That's a lot. Using a lot. So for me right now, this is every other petal pretty much. And you can take your time and color these in slow. I'm just going a little quicker for demonstration purpose. You guys are doing great. And now this is my last petal I'm doing with the bright yellow, the farthest away petals. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So now I'm going to move on, and actually I had told you guys before that we would have 3 layers, but it looks like I only have 2 layers. So I'm just using these 2 colors, and then I'm going to go over with the darker at the end. But the next petals that you're going to do, it looks like you're overlapping these lines. Don't be afraid of that. Those are just your sketch-in lines. So what you want to do is go over the big petals, remembering they're on top. So they're going to be darker and closer. So you can start again just right here at the edge of the flower, or if you want, you could go to the center. I'm just going to start right here and color those in. Did you already do that, Reed?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, colored them in, or coloring them in. So if you've only outlined them, go ahead and fill them in with those colors. The lighter and darker. So can I show them for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
So Reed and I were doing them a little different. You can do it whatever way is easier for you. I went around doing all the lighter one, and now I'm doing the darker. And Reed outlined all of his first. The lighter pink color is the background, and the darker purple on top. He did all the lines first, and now he's coloring them in. You can do it that way if you want. like I said, I'm just filling these in quickly in case of some of you are moving fast. But you can take your time and do a lot better job coloring this in. And my last petal. Okay, so that's my last petal. Now I'm going to go over with my dark orange. So if you want to go over all of your petals, what you could do is use this darkest color you have on the top layer to outline the outsides and the center line. And then you could go back and use your medium color, since I had 3. Use your medium color to outline your lightest one. So you're going back and doing that. I don't know if you'll be able to see mine, but I'm going to use a dark orange to outline these now. So you can see it. That one's almost red. Can you see that? I think you can. And the center line. I'm going to do that on all of these petals. Looks like Reed already had his done, but he could go back with a darker, even a darker one if he wanted to. He could pick an even darker purple and outline his, and then do the center line. You might want to do a center line because you don't have a center line. But the pink ones he did have the lines, I can see. But he could go back with this purple and outline the pink ones. And you forgot the outside line there. You forgot the bigger circle around your center. Did you miss that?
There is.
I didn't tell you to do that. That will be confusing for people. Can you fill the center line in with a darker purple? Just for... So now I've finished outlining those, and I'm going to go back with my middle color. Actually, I'm going to use one that you can see, an orange you can see, to do the behind ones. And you don't want to start inside where these lines are here. You only do it the part that the flower is showing of the lighter. Maybe that's obvious, but I just thought I'd say that. And the center line of those petals that are behind. Are you already done, Reed?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're waiting and you've already done this, you can add a stem down below here if you want to. You could have a curly vine, or you could have a stem and use 2 different value colors of the stem. I could draw that squiggly down there, about that thick. You can even add leaves on that if you want to. Going straight out, kind of like a lily we've done before. You can color that in if you're waiting. And again, just to practice the radial drawing, I'm always trying to start at the center. Even when I'm out here, I'm trying to start at the inside part and draw out just to get in the habit of it. I think it ends up making your drawing more accurate. So now that I've done that and outlined them all, can you see how there's a different value and it looks like one petal's on top of the other? It's kind of cool. So now that you've done that, you can add the center of that, and you can erase all those other extra lines inside your center if you want to. What I'm going to do is use 2 browns. So the center of a sunflower are usually different oranges and browns, and then with yellow pollen on top of that. But just for the sake of time today, I'm just going to use 2 different brown colors. So I'm going to use this lighter one and a darker brown. I'm going to do the lighter one first and fill that whole thing in and color in the center of your sunflower. You can do that, Reed. I'm just filling that in fast, but again, you can take your time. And if you look at a sunflower, where are they darker? Where are they darkest? The center or the outside of it? Do you know, Reed? They're darkest in the center, kind of like an eyeball. So I'm going to color in the center, the darker. I'm going to have mine go dark all the way here. And there you have your sunflower. How'd you guys do? Reed, can we see yours? So Reed did a tiny center of his sunflower. It looks more like a different kind of flower, but that's cool. If he wanted to, he could make a bigger radial circle outside of that to make it look like the bigger sunflowers in the gardens, or maybe his is more like a dahlia. You guys can do whatever you want. So I hope that helped you in figuring out how to draw flowers. If you want to add petals that go off wonky weird directions, you can do that, but this just gives you a sample of how to do it if you're trying to draw a flower accurately from the face on, from looking at it straight on. So I'm going to really quick do an eye, and you can fast forward to this eye part next time if you want. Reed, you can flip your paper over. I'm going to flip this board over. And you can also fill in the stem that you did and then around the flower, which will actually make it even more interesting if you use colors in the background. The background is the space behind your object. So you can always fill that in to make it a little more interesting. I'm gonna need another piece of paper. Here. I'm just going to use this as not the best paper, the back of the board. But I'm just going to show you really quick how to make an eye. And you can use the same supplies if you want. I'm going to draw with my Sharpie again, just on this little spot right here. So for an eyeball, if you look closely at whoever you're drawing with, if you looked in their eyes, it's pretty interesting. So first we're going to do one little circle. And if you have a pencil, you can use that. I'm going to use my pen right now because I don't think you'd see the pencil. What I should have done in the first place. If you want to make a cross section, go right through the middle of that. Oh, that's really hard to see, isn't it? I'm going to draw it bigger. Hopefully you can see that. So you can draw your cross section, your circle around that. That's going to be the center of your eye. And then I'm going to draw one more circle around that. It looks more like a bullseye or a crosshair section. And And then we're going to go back, and with your pencil, I want you to draw a whole bunch of little lines in between, really faintly, like this. Really lightly. After you've done those other ones in between, halfway between the other lines, you're going to keep doing that like a pie. Like cutting it into a whole bunch of pie pieces. Those are all radial lines like we talked about. And you can do pretty much as many as you want. But you want to stop at this outside line. So you can do this anytime you're drawing an eyeball at all, because if you look at someone's eye, there's the center pupil, and then surrounding that are those tiny little lines that you can see of color on that outer part. So right now for the eyeball, what we're going to do is just color this in black so it makes a little more sense. I'm going to use my Sharpie. That is using a lot. I'm going to use something else. And if you really want to make it look like an eyeball, you can leave a little circle of white wherever you want. Makes it look like a real eye. So I'm going to color in around that. All of this black except for that little circle within the pupil. This is another great skill to know when you're drawing portraits or people and want to know how to draw real eyes. So doesn't that already look like an eyeball? I'm going to scoot this a little closer. Sorry about that. Hopefully that works. Reed's out of the picture, but I'll show him in a minute. So there's your eyeball. And then to show the eyelid that goes around it, the top and bottom, we're going to practice doing this. So you can take your pencil. What I'm going to do is about the same amount of distance, so an actual radius in math, I believe, from the center to the outside of the circle. So you're going to measure that amount from the edge of this circle out that way. I'm not scientifically accurate here, but we're just going to say there, make a dot, and the same thing for out here. The same measurement around there. And you can just eyeball it, no pun intended. And what you're going to do now is draw a line that is going to cut off. It's like an arch, kind of like we made the petals before, but we're going to cut off a little bit of the top and draw a line over that, because if you look at somebody's eye, the line of their eye is actually over part of the top of that black part. It's hard to see because you don't actually have white on top and bottom of the eyeball. Can you see that of the center? The bottom is cutting part of it off as well. The top is arched more, so we're going to do that like this. We go in a little bit and then up and over and have it curve down like that. And then underneath we're going to do the same thing. Down, cutting some of that off like that. And then if you have an eraser, you can erase that top part of the eye and the bottom part. And you can also go back and make another line that's pretty close. And then you can add eyelashes if you want to look. Lines out like that, however you want. And if you look close at an eyeball, the eyelashes don't actually go all the way over to the center. They start about right here or halfway over. I'm just doing those really quick. And then on the bottom, we don't have very many. So I'm just making a few. So you can erase that line, which I cannot do, but I'm going to go over these lines darker with my my black oil pastel. And you can pretend, or that's purple. That looks purple. I guess he got a black eye. He got hit in the eye. Okay. There. So now you've erased those. You have your eye. And now you can take one more color and do, if you have brown eyes or blue eyes that take a darker color, I'm going to use brown. And the last thing we're going to do is add some color in here. I'm going to color this in light brown. You can color that whole rest of the eyeball in like that. And your radial lines are kind of disappearing, but that's okay. And the last thing we're going to do is make it a little bit darker right here. You can look at someone's eye, and it really does get darker around the edge. And there you have an eye. So I hope you guys had fun today. And we could go into detail and make that even more. But if you want to practice doing that for your eyes, I mean, I think it's pretty fun. So now you have an idea how to do flowers and lots of radial designs, and hopefully be able to see them in nature and around you in your house today, and just be able to observe and see things more. And also have another skill to draw eyes for when you're drawing people. So I hope that was helpful today, and yeah, we just bless you. And oh, I gotta show Reed's. There's Reed's eye. That turned out awesome. So I'd love to see if you guys try this out, to post your pictures, and if you have any questions, let me know. Have a great day.